to have an easier life as a startup, as an entrepreneur, you have to have, let's say, 5-7 years as an entrepreneur. You have to understand the best practices and methodologies and management skills of building a startup. And you need to have maybe the same amount of expertise in a certain domain.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. 20-Minute Leaders is a proud supporter of Make-A-Wish Israel and Tech to Peace, and is in proud collaboration with Secret Chord Ventures, J Ventures, Riverside FM, Fusion VC, Birthright Excel, J Impact, Leap, Google for Startups, and Hippo, and in media partnership with CTech. Welcome to another episode of 20-Minute Leaders, and meet Ohad Also. Ohad is an entrepreneur currently running ThinkUp, a digital platform to support, enhance, and accelerate other founders' journeys. Ohad is also the founder of Thinkz, a network of IoT devices. He ran his family office for the past 15 years, building on the success of his late father at 888.com. I'm really excited to talk to you about your own journey, transitioning, part family office, part investor in startups and funds, also an entrepreneur. This is the second large endeavor that you're starting from Thinkz. So looking at IoT and networks, and then transitioning now to digital acceleration for people and entrepreneurs and ideas. And so a lot to uncover under that underlying question of why do you do what you do, and who are you, Ohad Also. So I think we should start there. If you look at yourself, how do you think throughout your own priorities, your own passions? What do you care about?
Well, I think the vision. I start with a vision, a bold vision, trying to make some breakthroughs, things that maybe other people seem to be a bit impractical, impossible, a bit too big. I think that's what drives me. That's what makes me passionate and makes me wake up in the morning and go to sleep. If I manage to get some sleep.
And most recently, in your most recent endeavor, you're looking at people and entrepreneurs as a community and a sort of acceleration as a moat of growth. How did that come about for you, this passion for people and acceleration?
Well, being an entrepreneur 4 or 5 years ago, starting another venture, I came across this issue of everything's going very slow. You have to research and come up with ideas and pitch it to the market, and then go back to the drawing board. And I said, why isn't there a platform to help us do all of that very quickly? And it turned out to be, such a huge project. To lay out everything for entrepreneurs, to make their life easier, to make innovation much easier and faster.
Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit more about your own personal experience that have led you to this sort of realization, because a part of the realization is not only that that there is a problem, but that it's a problem that you can solve at scale with your current endeavor. So what led you to that understanding?
I started another venture, as you mentioned, Thinkz, building a network for IoT devices, a very big vision. And we researched, every vertical in IoT space, smart home, smart cities, smart transportation, smart logistics. And every time it takes time. Every time you dive into another vertical, it takes time, and you have to come up with new use cases, new solutions. You have to talk to different people. It takes a lot of time. I said, look, we're in a digital world. Why doesn't everything happen within a click?
Mm-hmm.
I want everything to be instant.
Sure.
Just like when you're ordering food, it's instant, 30 minutes, and you get everything you want. Why can that be for startups? That's where we came.
What did you understand? Why is it hard for it to be like that for startups?
Because, I think that in order to have an easier life as a startup, as an entrepreneur, you have to have, let's say, 5-7 years as an entrepreneur. You have to understand the best practices and methodologies and management skills of building a startup. And you need to have maybe the same amount of expertise in a certain domain, whatever your domain is, cyber, fintech, whatever. If you don't have both of that, you're gonna have very hard life, very tough life as an entrepreneur. You need to have the guidance, the best practices, the methodologies. Then you have to look for data. Regardless even of your experience, if you're entering a new domain, you have to look into the data. How is the market structured? What's its size? You have to know the customers. And, you need to have the network, the customers and the domain experts in every aspect, branding, competitive analysis, go-to-market. And on top of all of that, you need to get the funding, right? So an entrepreneur has lots and lots of issues. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to build a platform to make them go through all of that easier.
So did the idea come to you, by happenstance? Were you thinking about this for a while? Because, a lot of entrepreneurs go through adversity and a lot of what you're talking about, but there's a leap from experiencing it yourself to actually going and saying, my next venture is going to attempt to solve this at scale.
Yeah, well, it was quite easy for me, or straightforward, making the transition. When you have an idea, when you have a passion, when you want to create something new, there isn't a but. As Yoda said, there isn't do or not or try. You just do it. So you just jump ahead and you do it. You see, it could make such a big difference in an entrepreneur's life. You just go ahead and do it, no matter how big the task is.
Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about the sort of the product or the offering through ThinkUp.
The offering. Well, you get the digital platform that lays out for you the entire startup journey. At the moment, we focus on early stage. So we're trying to divide the journey of the startup into building blocks. Like researching your customers and market research and doing the competitive analysis and go-to-market strategy. Even though every startup is unique and has a unique story, all of them has probably the same template, the same generic tasks that they need to do. There are already best practices and methodologies how to create startups. And we're building the platform to help you navigate, understand what is the current task that you need to do, how to do it, with lots of guidance and examples, and even data. We're not just telling you, go ahead and research your customers. We're trying to tell you, who are your customers? What are their pains? What are they buying now? Helping you in persona mapping. Okay, we're not just throwing you out there with a blank board and just go ahead and do competitive analysis. No, we're trying to tell you, whatever domain you are, who are the current competitors. We're trying to give you a head start. So it's not just guiding you of how does your roadmap look like? What do you need to do? We're helping you how to do it. We're providing some of the data. And if all of that doesn't help, we still have the network of experts and other founders, and also our own startup success managers to help you complete each of the steps in your journey.
So just for clarification, are you giving them more of a structure for how to think through these problems, or the different techniques for what are the best practices for researching a user persona, or are you actually there side by side with them as they are researching, and you're doing part of the research yourself?
Yeah, it's both. You start with the structure, what needs to be done, what is the order of the tasks, and then how to do it, guide them through, help them, provide data, and trying to have some outcomes and deliverables. It's not just an e-learning platform, how to do stuff. It's making outcomes, okay? Generating the market research, generating the competitive analysis, generating the customer research, generating the pitch deck at the end. Okay?
Right.
Fast and accurate and easy.
Right. So, some investors and some entrepreneurs will say that, the very essence of entrepreneurship is to be able to constantly iterate and to ask these questions, and things only get harder as the startup grows. More difficult decisions need to be made. The world becomes more complicated. Many more variables are thrown in the air. So how do you find, sort of the educational piece of taking the entrepreneur on a journey? How big of a part is it today with ThinkUp? How big of a part do you think it should be in general in your interaction with the entrepreneurs?
They will still iterate. They will still iterate. It's not going. It's not by using our platform. It will guarantee just going from step 1 through 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's it. They will still iterate and learn new things all along the way. But still, it will be much more structured and helping them with blind spots and things they should have done in the beginning. Lots of people just go ahead without planning, without creating the strategy or the business plan. So even though you get guidance and help and data, you will still iterate, you will still pivot and make mistakes from some of the time. But hopefully it would be, much easier and much less prone to errors.
Right. So in today's world, do you get to work with some of the entrepreneurs? Do you get to see the journey that they're on and sort of think back to your own journey? What has this experience been like for you?
Absolutely. So we've had almost 100 entrepreneurs on our platform already.
Wow.
We're still on, early POC stage. It's amazing to see entrepreneurs from throughout the world, from Israel and Pakistan and India and the United States and South Africa, each and every one with his own idea. And, it's tough. It's tough for them. And at the moment, it's not very easy for us to guide them, but it's very fulfilling. Once you get everything straight or most of the things straight and you help them show their blind spots and how to do things, you save them so much effort, time, and agony, and we can bring them forward. So it's very fulfilling. And we hope to see many more entrepreneurs, complete, what we call the ideate stage. Okay, building the initial business framework for the startups, and hopefully getting them funding and the first customer, which will mean, that we're successful, that we're putting them on the right track.
So I'd love to go a little bit higher in the air and then dive back deep about the product. So if we're looking at sort of the vision of this, and if you're looking at your own vision, and if we're even looking 8 years down the line, so how does the world look in 8 years with ThinkUp for you?
Great question. So we want to be the standard or the go-to platform when you have an idea. Okay. Like today for Google, take for example, Google, when you have something that you want to look up, you go straight to Google. No question about it. 5, 10 years from now.
It's in the dictionary.
Yeah, exactly. To Google things up. 5, 10 years from now, we would like that if you have an idea, the go-to place is going to be ThinkUp. You're not just going to do it like today, just Google up things or call your friends or go to an accelerator. If you have an idea, you will go to ThinkUp. This is how you're going to create your startup. This is how everyone will create their startup. And hopefully, innovation could be 10 times easier using our platform. And, innovation is going to pick up. It's going to be much more rapid. More rapid.
Why do you think that is? Because it sounds like you're talking about a general trend of innovation. Why do you think innovation is going to be much more rapid in the future?
When you use more and more digital tools to help people and automate things, it's going to be much easier. You don't have the questions of where do I learn how to create a startup? Where do I start? I need to read all of that stuff. I'm not sure how to do market research. I need to go and look up data in Google about a certain vertical. I have a vision about drones and logistics. Okay, good luck. Go and look who is the expert on that subject. Go ahead and look for data. Going to take you months. And once you get an idea, you will go back and change it again and again. But what if you have a digital platform that tell you straight from day one what to do and help you to go through the steps very, very quickly?
Right. And so obviously, I think that, I remember as a kid, I was reading Eric Ries's book, The Lean Startup, right? And it almost felt like, he was taking a lot of these fundamental ideas of what agile is and what different, but he was putting them in a structure and some methodology that I was able to constantly refer to and see where I'm at in relative to this framework, so that I can then best decide on what my next step should be. Is this sort of what you're doing at scale to any entrepreneur that wants to have some framework in mind?
Yeah, exactly. So there's lots and lots of people and companies trying to help entrepreneurs, lots of books and lectures and entrepreneurship programs and professional services and accelerators and advisors. What if we can digitize it, digitize the knowledge? If you could have an AI startup advisor that have seen tens of thousands of startups, and for the next startup, for the next entrepreneur, it can tell him what to do. Okay, recommendations, suggestions and recommendations, everything will be much faster and much more accurate.
Right. So, and obviously there's always the trade-off between generalized approach and the specific approach, because it will be very hard to get an AI to be able to give that detailed, exact advice on the specific pain point that the entrepreneur is solving. But if they're able to guide them on where to even prioritize the time and thinking, that's a big deal.
Yeah. There's always, we're talking about innovation. So you always bring something new to the table. Obviously, you're not doing the same thing as the other millions of entrepreneurs have done before you. So you can't guess everything. It's not predictable, but let's say 60, 70% of your work is probably predictable. If I have seen 1,000 of fintech startups, probably the 1,001 startup that will come across me, I can give him some recommendation and suggestions. I can tell him what to do and what not to do. I'm not going to be 100% right. I can't tell him everything, but I can tell him 60, 70, 80% of the stuff.
Right. So if we're looking back to sort of your own journey, why do you care so much? I mean, I care about startups succeeding. I've gone through some entrepreneurial journeys myself, but why do you wake up sort of passionate for this thing to work? Why does this need to work for you?
First of all, it's my creation. It's like a baby. It runs through my blood every single minute. Every time that we crack something, we solve something, we make some progress. Every time there's a new entrepreneur onboarding, every time an entrepreneur says, "Thank you, you've done such a great help for me, such a great service," that's worth everything. So it gives us great pleasure, and it's a great vision. It's not just changing a certain industry, a certain niche. It's changing the entire world.
Right.
Bringing in a new infrastructure for every innovator out there. You know what kind of impact? That's an impact for the entire humanity, not just for a specific industry.
Right. So you're saying that
pace of innovation.
Right. Obviously, as an investor, you got to work with different entrepreneurs in different niches, and you've seen sort of what's happening with them. But here you're saying, let's look at, if we're looking at sort of the pyramid, the most foundational layer is sort of this infrastructure for where innovation happens. And if you're able to even improve on that by a percent in the world, that will have a dramatic ripple effect up the pyramid and will allow many more to go above that level, right?
Exactly. We're not helping just fintech or cyber or IoT or logistics or fashion tech or real estate tech. We're helping everyone.
Right. It's a methodology, right? And it's a framework rather than just a niche product.
Yeah, exactly.
What's been the most, I guess, interesting piece of it for you that maybe was trivial, maybe wasn't? If you're looking back at the last few years running this, what have you learned that maybe surprised you or is not trivial?
It's an amazing journey. And I learn every day. I learn new stuff. I learn, for example, you have to be careful, even if you have lots of resources. I'm not the average user, not the average entrepreneur. Even though you have kind of unlimited resources are still limited. You need to be focused, not try to give too much in your product. You have to be focused. And I've been learning lots of stuff starting from product design to product management to how to manage a team, and so many things operation-wise, and we're building a new language, a new set of tools of how to create a digital accelerator. It's a new term; it hasn't been done before.
With more than and I love you mentioning you're in your POC stage, but you've already had more than 100 entrepreneurs experience that. So obviously, we're looking at innovation in the world, and I've been enjoying watching Shark Tank the last few days. I don't know why I've gotten into a Shark Tank marathon, but it's inspiring to me to see how so many entrepreneurs around the world can innovate on anything. And at the end, it's the same fundamental questions, the same fundamental philosophy for how to build on top of this foundational idea. And it sounds like you're coming in and saying, it's great that you have this foundational idea, but now let's structure it and let's position you in the best way possible for success, which is not trivial.
I've been on a presentation, a pitch deck, a panel with someone who ran an accelerator, and she ran in a pitch deck night. There were a few entrepreneurs like me, and she told me, "What are you gonna have a methodology that's gonna fit every startup in the world? That's insane. That's impossible." And then she said to the next presenter after me, she told them, "There's a template on our website. Please make sure your pitch is just into the template." So she has a template. A pitch deck has a template. So the journey has a template.
Right. And I think that maybe some people may be conflating template or structure with a surefire system. There is no surefire way.
No.
Most entrepreneurs will fail. That's the reality. That's statistics. The question is, are there best practices that are worth knowing to help make things easier? Right. And it sounds like you're taking those best practices and you're making them accessible to people around the world. And it's not about creating it's not about creating, a success story. It's about creating the best opportunity for a success story. Ohad, I really want to thank you for a wonderful 20 minutes. Very insightful. I wish best of luck to you and all the entrepreneurs on your platform.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the conversation, and best of luck.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, Michael.
Thank you very, very much.